Hi, I'm Chaplain Kevin Bemmel, and I'm here to brief you about the new pension system. So, to help you figure out whether you're going to stay with the HR3S pension or go with the new BRS pension. Now, you may be wondering, why has a chaplain been asked to brief you on this subject? And before I joined the Navy about 10 and a half years ago, I had my own business and we focused primarily on real estate and business management and consulting. During the 20 years that I ran my company, we were involved in over $1 billion in transactions, and we also kept a few minor and sort of mid-level Hollywood type solvent. So I think based on that, hopefully that gives me the background and the credibility to talk to you about what you need to do with your pension. So moving forward, now I'm dealing specifically with reservists, and particularly for the Navy and the Marine Corps. Things are a little bit different on the active duty side, and depending on how the service secretaries handle the specifics for their branch of the service, things will end up being a little bit different between the different branches. So that's why I noted at the beginning that this is for reservists in the Navy and the Marine Corps. I'm going to deal with 4 issues, and I'm going to cover really just the basics of the pension systems and what's going to be changing and how that may affect you. So if you're looking for some, serious discounted cash flow analysis, or you want to, look at, well, the time value of money based on what I would get paid or might get paid or whatever that, this is not going to cover those kinds of complex issues. I'm happy to talk to you about those and talk about your specific situation. I'll give you my contact information at the end of the brief. You can feel free to get in touch with me. But for now, we're just going to deal with the real basics of what we're going to cover. So the brief takes about 30 minutes, maybe a couple minutes longer. So please stick with me, go through the whole thing, and you'll really get a good grounding in the changes that are coming up. So the 4 basic issues I'm going to deal with are, first of all, do you have a choice? Not everybody who's in the military right now is going to get to choose to be in the new pension system. Second of all, what does each plan offer? So I'm going to talk about the current plan and then also what the new plan gives you. 3, which should you choose? Now, I'm not actually going to tell you which one to choose. What I'm going to do is set out some food for thought about which one might work best for you so that it'll stimulate your thinking, you can come up with some questions, deal with some of the issues as they may impact you and your family, and that way kind of guide yourself, I should say, to the right choice. Okay, and in any event, by the way, you can't even make the choice until next year. So this isn't something that you have to worry about right away, but you'll see there's a lot of nuances to this. And so the sooner you start gathering information and thinking about your personal situation, the better off you'll be. Finally, I'll talk about some open issues. I've looked into this pretty deeply. And even with the background I have and the research that I did, you'll see there's still a number of open questions. And so even if you were of a mind to make a decision right away, probably you're not going to be able to, because there's some details and issues about how certain things are going to work that might impact what you decided. Okay, so first of all, do you have a choice? If you began military service before 1 January 2006, or have at least 4,320 points toward retirement, okay, you have to stay in the high 3 retirement system, okay, the H3RS system. Okay, you don't have a choice. Now, hopefully you know where to find your points. If you go to BOL online and check there, you'll see what your point total is. Okay, but if you meet this qualification, that's it. You're in the current pension system. You don't have the choice to go into the new one. Now, conversely, if you begin your military service after 31 December 2017, in other words, the end of this year, you also have no choice. You will be put into the new blended retirement system. I know that doesn't apply to you, but just something for you to know if you're talking to some of your sailors or talking to some of your friends who are thinking about joining the Navy. Now, here's the crux of it. If you began your military service after 31 December 2005 and before 1 January 2018 and have less than 4,320 points toward retirement, You have a choice about whether you stay in the current H3RS system or you enroll in the new BRS system. So for those of you like me, I'm in this category, we have to decide whether we're going to stick with the old system or go with the new system. Now, if you're not in this category, you may be thinking, well, I don't need to watch this brief then. Okay, but if you have sailors you lead or sailors that you're responsible for in some way, for example, if you're a JAG or something like that, or you're a doc or whatever, he talks to sailors all the time, it's probably a good idea for you to have at least a basic knowledge about the changes coming up. So if your sailors come to you and they have questions, you can at least answer some basic questions or point them in the right direction so they can get the information they need to make a good decision. Okay, so hang in here with me. All right. The current retirement system is called the High 3 retirement system, H3RS, during the rest of this brief. And as you probably know, you have to serve a minimum of 20 years to qualify to get any pension benefits. Okay, minimum of 20 years. Your benefit is calculated at 2.5% of your monthly base pay per year of service. So if you serve the minimum of 20 years times 2.5% per year, it means you're going to get a pension equal to 50% of your monthly base pay. Okay, and if you serve 30 years, you're going to get 2.5% times 30 years, or 75%. Okay, if you're an admiral, I guess you get 100% because you can serve for 40 years. Your monthly base pay is the average of the highest 36 months of base pay. Now, that's usually going to be the last 36 months that you're in the Navy. You may have had some kind of break in service where you had a reduction in rank or something unusual like that. That could play into your specific circumstances. If so, you need to take that into account when you do your analysis. But for most of us, our last 36 months in the Navy are going to be our 3 high years. That's where it gets its name, as you see, the High 3 retirement system. All right, so the base pay for calculating your pension benefit is the highest 36 months of base pay divided by 36 months. And then your pension equals that base pay figure times 50% if you've been in for 20 years, okay? Because that's 2.5% times 20 years. In other words, half of the monthly base pay amount. Now, if you serve for 22 years, so then your pension benefit is going to be base pay times 55%, or 0.55, right? Now, let's look at an actual example. So if you're an E6 and you retire on 31 December 2017 with 20 years of service, this is basically how you can calculate what your pension benefit will be. All right, so year 20, your last year of service is this year, 2017, and your monthly base pay is a little bit over $3,850. Year 19, your second to last year of service, which would have been last year, your base pay was not quite $3,800, and then your year before that, year 18, which was 2015, your base pay was a little over $3,700, okay? So then multiply each one of those by 12, and you get your annual base pay that you see there in the chart. Add those up, and the total of your high 36 months is $136 and change, basically, okay? Then you divide that by 36, okay? And that gives you your average base pay for your pension of $3,782. Times 50%, because you're retiring after 20 years. So your monthly benefit is going to be a little bit under $1,900. All right, that's a pretty straightforward calculation, all right, if you knew you're retiring the end of this year. Of course, it gets more complex if you're retiring several years from now, because you don't know what kind of cost of living increases we're going to get year by year. You may not know exactly what your career path is going to be in terms of promotion. So, anytime you get promoted, of course, your pay increases. So those will add a little bit of unknown to it. Nonetheless, you can probably estimate, reasonably closely what your pension benefit is going to be under the current system. Okay, and it would look something like this. All right. So that was the current system. Now the new system, the blended retirement system, has got 3 parts to it. This is one of the things that makes it more complex than the current system. So the three parts are: first, you'll have a TSP account. Second, you may be eligible for continuation pay. And third, it has a fixed benefit pension portion to it that's very similar to the current H3RS system with just a couple minor modifications, okay? So I'm going to go through each one of these three parts so you can see how it may work for you or not. All right, part number one, your TSP account. So, first of all, after 60 days of service, the DoD will automatically contribute 1% of your base pay to your retirement account. Okay, that's after 60 days. But you have to serve a minimum of 2 years to vest ownership of that 1%. Okay, vesting ownership means for it actually to become yours. So let's say that for whatever reason, you only serve 18 months, you lose those 1% automatic contributions. Okay, they actually will go into a fund that helps pay for the blended retirement system program. So you have to serve a minimum of 2 years, again, to get those 1% automatic payments. They don't come out of your pocket, they come out of the DoD's pocket. Right? Next, beginning the 3rd year of your service, the DoD will match contributions to your TSP account that you make. Now, there's a schedule of how the matching works, and I'll cover that in just a couple minutes. But just know that one of the incentives built into this program is if you save money toward your retirement, the DoD is going to match that money. So you can, in essence, double what you're saving for retirement through the DoD matching the money you set aside. With one wrinkle, always a wrinkle, right? So the automatic payments that I mentioned before, the 1% automatic payments, and the matching of your contributions, and when you complete 26 years of service. So if you serve for 30 years, the last 4 years, you're not going to get the automatic payments and the matching, only for 26 years. Now, this points out, by the way, one of the first issues that I couldn't find an answer for, and that is, let's say you've already been in the Navy for 5 years. So, and let's say you end up staying for 30 years. Is the Navy going to give you the automatic payments and the matching for a full 26 years? Or are they going, or for a full, I should say not for a full 26 years, for 25 years, right? Between when you sign up now and the end of your career at 30 years? Or are they going to say, well, you already had 5 years in the military, we're going to lock that off, and you only get 21 years of automatic payments and matching? Can you hear the question? Right? I couldn't find the answer to that yet. I suspect, and you'll see I'll ask questions like this during the brief, I suspect because they haven't actually started this yet, a number of questions haven't been raised yet, and so no one has figured out, oh, well, how actually are we going to handle these issues? Okay? So just have to stay tuned over the next several months as the Department of the Navy rolls out implementation of the program. I'm sure these questions will come up. Certainly I'll raise these questions, and we'll get greater clarity on some of these nuances. All right. So your contributions and the DoD matching contributions and the earnings on all of this will vest immediately. Now, part of that is because they don't start matching until you've already been in for 3 years, right? And the vesting period is 2 years. But in any event, if you've already made some contributions to a TSP account, that current TSP account is going to become your BRS account. And so whatever is in there, obviously you continue to own that. But then whatever the DoD contributes to it going forward, you own that as well, presumably without having to wait another 2 years for it to vest and all that. That's another open question, is if we sign up next year, do we have to wait 2 years for the for vesting rights to the automatic payments or the matching payments, or how that's all going to work? Don't exactly know yet. All right. But in any event, what they're saying right now is your contributions, the matching contributions, and the earnings on any of the DoD contributions vest in you immediately, meaning you own them as soon as they're made. Okay. And I mentioned this already. The funds are invested in TSP. Okay. Well, I'm going to show you what those funds look like in a couple minutes. All right. So here's the schedule of the matching. So you see in the first column there, DoD automatic contributions, 1%, no matter what. Then if you contribute, let's say you don't contribute anything, 0%. So the DoD is going to match 0%. So the total amount going into your TSP account is going to be 1%. But if you contribute 1% of your base pay, then the DoD is going to match that 1%. And you can see that you'll have 3% of your base pay going into the account, only 1% of which is coming out of your pocket. Okay, likewise, 2% it matches 2, 3, 3. Now, when you get to 4%, you see they scaled back the matching. So they're only going to match 3.5% if you make a 4% contribution. And same with 5, if you contribute 5%, they're only going to match 4. But at the point where you're putting in 5% of your base pay, saving out of your own money, the DoD is going to give you, in essence, another 5%. So they're going to double the amount of money that you're saving. That's part of the incentive for this new pension system, okay? So wait, that's the schedule for the matching contributions. All right. Now, upon separation, meaning you're leaving the Navy, whether that happens after 2 years, 5 years, 10, 20, 25, whatever it is, doesn't matter. Upon separation, you keep your TSP account and you can leave it in a TSP fund, or you can roll it over into a private sector or government 401k. Okay, now some of you are knowledgeable going, wait, the government doesn't have 401ks. That's true. It's actually a different number, but just to make it simple for now, just calling it a government 401k. If you have a specific rollover situation in mind that you want to talk to me about, by all means, we can talk about that. But in any event, the key point here is, after you leave the Navy, you can leave the money you've accumulated in your TSP account, or you can take it out of there and put it into some sort of private retirement account, okay? Now, here's another key thing, though. You cannot withdraw the funds from your TSP account without penalty before age 59 and a half. And if you do, you may also incur tax liability. Now, that's frankly pretty typical for any kind of retirement account, so there's nothing special. There's no special penalty there because this is, a new system. That's just the way these accounts work. All right. So that was part number 1. Part 2 is continuation pay. So part of this new system gives each service secretary the ability to offer an incentive for service members to stay in for a longer period of time. So the guidelines are set that for a service member who's been in for a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 12 years, the Secretary of the Navy can offer them continuation pay. And he can determine at what point in that 8 to 12 year period sailors can be offered this incentive. Now, another open question is, can he vary that for different communities or different ratings or whatever? Don't have the answer to that yet, okay? But if you are offered continuation pay and you take it, it's with the understanding, or the agreement, I should say, that you're going to stay in for 3 more years, okay? So you're signing up for 3 more years by accepting the continuation pay. Now, the amount of the payment, it's a cash payment of 1/2 to 6 times monthly based pay. And again, SecNav gets to determine the size of the continuation pay payment, whether he can vary it for different communities, different ratings, etc., like with the year point or not, don't know yet. We'll find out as things develop, okay? Keep in mind about continuation pay, if you don't serve out the additional 3 years, you have to repay it, okay? Now, there is a provision that allows for SecNav to prorate the repayment, or to, even for hardship cases, potentially waive it or waive part of it or something like that. Again, this is all new, and so how exactly all that's going to work hasn't been determined yet. But just, you know, you know how these things work. When you accept money, you have to accept the obligation that goes with it, or in the case of continuation pay, count on having to pay some, if not all of it, back. All right, so that's part number 2. Then part number 3 is a defined benefit pension that's similar to H3RS. And when I say similar, first of all, in order to qualify for this third part of BRS, you have to serve a minimum of 20 years, just like with the current pension system. So if you serve for 19 years and 11 months and leave the Navy, you'll keep the first 2 parts of BRS, but you won't get any of the third part. It takes a minimum of 20 years of service to earn it. The major difference between BRS defined benefit pension and H3RS is your pension benefit is calculated at 2% of monthly base pay versus 2.5%. So looking back at that example we did a few minutes ago of the E6 retiring at the end of this year with 20 years of service, all the calculations here are the same, except you see now that instead of getting 50% of average base pay, you're only getting 40%. So instead of getting about $1,900, you're getting a little over $1,500. And in fact, the difference is $378. So you're getting that lower amount of a defined benefit pension, a pension payment like under the old system. The idea is you'll make that $380 up through saving money in your TSP account that's matched by the DoD, and then that money, when you invest it and it pays you a return, it'll pay you at least as much, if not more, than what you gave up by opting into the BRS system. Okay, so that's really, and as you'll see a little in just a couple more minutes, that's really the crux of the matter. Do you feel like you can make up this difference or potentially do better through the matching that the DoD is offering in the BRS system? Okay, so I mentioned this before. Enrollment will begin on January 1st, 2018 and end on 31 December 2018. So you've got next year to decide whether to enroll and actually elect to or actually enroll in the BRS system. If you don't enroll in BRS by the end of next year, you will automatically be kept in the current H3RS system. Okay? So at least as things stand now, again, there are hardship provisions that the SECNAV can extend the enrollment date for different reasons, but at least as things sit right now, unless there's some changes or some extraordinary circumstances in your particular case, you'll have next year to make the decision and to enroll if you want to. One of the things you should know is if you already have a TSP account, none of the money that you've previously contributed to it will be matched. Okay, so that's a going forward part of BRS. Obviously you keep that money, but it won't have any impact on what happens with respect to the new pension system. Okay, now if you have a TSP account currently and you enroll in BRS, that existing account will become your BRS TSP account. Okay, you're going to have to go in and confirm the percent of your base pay that you want transferred to TSP, but that should be all you need to do. And you'll see why in a minute. If you don't have a TSP account and you enroll in BRS, so an account will automatically be created for you as part of the process of your enrolling. Okay? And here's the thing. I'm going to cover the middle one first. If you join after 31 December 2017 and you don't already have a TSP account, when you enroll in BRS, they're going to sign you up to automatically have 3% deducted from your pay and put in the TSP account. if you already have a TSP account, in theory, you've already set up a certain percentage to be deducted from your pay to go in the account. But in the switchover, I'm guessing they're anticipating, there may be something that goes wrong. And so let's say right now you've got it set up that 2% of your pay is going into your TSP account, and then you elect to go to BRS. It might switch you to 3, even though it's not supposed to. So I think that's why they want you to go in and confirm that whatever amount is being deducted from your pay is the amount that you want it to be, just to verify that amount, okay? Now, the funds that you have deducted from your pay and or that the DoD is automatically contributing or matching, all that money is going to be invested in the most age-appropriate life cycle fund. So real quickly, and let me just show you on the TSP website. Okay, so these are the life cycle funds. So when they say the most age-appropriate one, it has to do with presumably how long you have to go until retirement. And they're going to put you in the fund that is most age-appropriate for where you're at in terms of your age and I guess career point. Again, not 100% defined. So, and you can see the returns that they've gotten, and like this L fund has been under 5%. Some of them have been higher. So whether you can adjust the fund after you enroll in BRS, and whether you can adjust it manually during your time remaining in the Navy or whatever. Again, details haven't been worked out yet, or at least haven't been announced yet. So we'll see how that works out. Finally, if you're going to mobilize, or if you mobilize, or you're going on AT or ADT orders or whatever, so that is not supposed to affect your enrollment status. It's supposed to stay consistent. And so even though, you're earning more money, supposedly, if you've elected, let's say, to have 3% transferred to your TSP account, it should continue to do that under the BRS system. All right. So those are the two different systems. And now the question is, which should you choose? So again, I'm not going to actually tell you which one you should choose, but I want to give you some food for thought. So as you learn more about the changes, you can develop questions that you need to ask before making a choice, and or, do some analysis so that you can decide what's best for you and your family. If you are absolutely certain you're not going to serve for at least 20 years, you're not getting anything under the current H3RS system, okay? So I would highly recommend that you give serious consideration to enrolling in BRS, because at least you'll get something. Even if you're only going to spend another 2 or 3 years in the Navy or Marine Corps, and even if you're not going to save any of your own money, you're at least going to get the automatic 1% payments, and that's money you otherwise wouldn't have gotten, right? It's better to jab in the eye with a pointed stick, as they say. Okay, I'm not telling you have to or that you should. I'm just saying give it a real serious look. Okay, that's if you're absolutely positive you're not going to stay for 20 years. I don't think that's most of us. If you think you're going to serve for at least 20 years, or you're really just not sure how long you're going to stay. Okay? So the crux of the matter comes down to what I mentioned before. Can you make up the difference between a monthly pension payment based on 50% versus 40% of your base pay? Right? That was the $380 for the E6 retiring at the end of this year. Now, obviously, not everybody's an E6, and so the difference in what you have to make up is going to vary depending on your specific circumstances. I just wanted to give you a numerical example so you could see how some of the calculations that you need to make. All right, so let's look at this in a numbers basis. So this is the same E6 we've been talking about all along. If he enrolls in BRS, his defined pension monthly payment is going to drop by $380 or $4,500 for the year. So the question is, can he save enough in his TSP account including the DoD automatic payments and matching, so that the balance in his TSP account will, when he invests it, will make up that $4,500 a year difference. So if you just assume for a moment a 5% return on your funds, okay, then you need to have just about $91,000 in your TSP account invested at 5% to earn $4,500 a year to make up for that difference. And if you have 10 years to go to retirement, that would mean you'd need to save out of your own pocket $295 a month. Okay? Now, keep in mind, there's another open question here, and that is, are the limits on what the DoD matches going to be based on our drill pay, or are they going to be based on what we would get paid per month? And so if we're willing to, to save $295 out of our drill pay, even though it's much more than, 5% of our drill pay, but it's less than 5% of what would be a monthly base payment if we were on active duty, will they match that whole payment or not? So we'll just have to look for continued guidance to know this. But it's another wrinkle to this whole situation that we need to keep tabs on as we gather more information and start making our decisions. But assuming for the moment that the Navy would match the entire $295 a month, then really what happens is, at the end of 10 years, you've got $91,000 saved, of which only about 40% has come out of your pocket. Only $35,400 of that $91,000 is money out of your base pay. The rest is all matching or automatic contributions by the DoD, plus earnings on the money that you've invested in your TSP account. So you can see that there's some good potential there to grow your retirement savings. And again, this is why the BRS system was being implemented, because it's an incentive for sailors and Marines to save. All right. So which should you choose? If USAA has put together a military retirement comparison tool, and let me show you that real quickly. You don't have to be a USAA member to use it, but let's go back to the beginning. Hold on. It doesn't want to do it. Okay, here we go. All right, so I put a Bitly URL up here because the one for the actual USA site is super long. So this you can take down relatively quickly. I'll put it up again, but let me just show you how this works. So it's a 3-step process. First of all, you select the military status. So here we're Guard or Reserve. So next, let's see if it does this. Good, there we go. Okay. Is your service member's DM's date after December 31st, 2017? No. Okay. How many points do you have toward retirement? So I think mine are about 3,800 right now. It's fine. You can look it up at BOL online for the exact number, but for now, just for this example, we'll do that. I'm an officer. My years of service as of the end of this year will be about 11 years. Okay, so next. Okay, and do you or your spouse plan to retire from the military? At this point, my answer is no, because I'm not actually eligible to stay for 20 years unless I get an age waiver. All right, so here we go. All right, how many years do you plan to serve in the military? I can serve 16 years before they kick me out without a pension. And here's what that shows you. So right here, if all I do is take just the 1% automatic contributions, I'll get $1,100 in a TSP account that will be mine, even though I don't stay for 20 years. Okay? If I make the maximum 5% personal contribution, so along with the DoD's contributions, at the end of six years from now, basically, I will have $11,000 saved up in this account. And as you can see, it's going to be I'll have put in a little bit less than half of that $11,000. Okay, and then if I save 10% of my own money, plus with the DoD's 5% matching, I'll have $16,000. So In any event, it gives you a little bit of an idea of the money that you can accumulate in your TSP account based on some of the details of your situation. Is it going to be exact? No, frankly, it's not going to be, but at least for now, to give you an idea of how this thing may shape up for you. And it's a nice little tool. And you'll see some other things are going to be coming out over the next few months to help you as well. So if you want to play with that military retirement comparison tool, take down the bit.ly URL, or you can just search USA Military Retirement Comparison Tool, whichever one works for you, and you can, like I say, play around with that. Now, open issues. If you are in the group that's eligible to enroll in BRS, whether you do or not, you're going to have to take a training in the BRS so that the Navy or Marine Corps can certify that they trained you so you knew the issues involved and could make an informed decision. Also, the DoD has to create an analysis tool. I imagine it'll be somewhat similar to the one USAA has already put together. But anyway, that tool will be available to you at some point, hopefully later this year, and you can start using that to look at your particular situation to know how this all may play out for you. As well, DFAS is charged with creating a website to enroll you in BRS and also to manage your TSP account. So if you like dealing with your MyPay account, then presumably will like dealing with this new DFAS account. Some open questions. I've mentioned several of them during the brief. Here's some other questions that still have to be answered. Number one, will automatic contributions and matching start immediately when you enroll next year? Or are you going to have to wait, 60 days from when you enroll for the automatic contributions to start and 3 years for the matching? Question hasn't been answered. We'll have to find out. Will the years you've already served count toward the minimum 2 years for vesting? Don't know yet. Okay, if you enroll mid-2018, will your enrollment be retroactive to 1 January? I expect not, but who knows? Maybe it will be. Again, these are just open questions. We'll have to watch as implementation develops over the balance of this year. So, if you have questions on anything that I've covered in this brief, or you have questions about your specific situation, happy to talk to you or meet with you if we have a chance to do that, whatever works. Here's my contact information, my email address. Shoot me an email, give me a call. I want to mention up front, I am not a command financial specialist. I don't have that training. My training all comes from decades really in the private sector, handling these kinds of issues for my clients. So if that works for you, I'm happy to help you, and you can contact me and we'll work it out, get you the information that you need. Okay. So again, feel free to email me or give me a call, and happy to talk with you. Finally, I want to say thank you for watching the brief, and along with my buddy Ernest Borgnine, I found this picture while I was looking for images for the brief, and I had to put it in here because he's one of my favorite actors, and he was a heck of a nice guy. Absolutely love the military and veterans. To be honest, I'm not sure why he's wearing a Chiefs cover, because he played Lieutenant Commander Quentin McHale in McHale's Navy. But anyway, I met him a few times, and he was just the sweetest guy. It was a big loss to the veteran community when he passed on a few years ago. But I want to first of all offer one other thanks, and that is to David McGrath. He helped me with some of the information that I used in this brief. And on behalf of Ernest and me, again, thank you for listening. If you have any questions, get in touch, and happy retirement when it comes.